Hello everybody, welcome back to today's video. If you need a reason to subscribe, my name is Legally Naiya, and I basically give the behind the scenes of law school, breaking into a legal career, and just all the insight I wish I knew, whether you're a first generation attorney or you're somebody interested in my path. I'm here to give the truth, the behind the scenes, and the tea. Ignore my luggage in the background. I'm getting ready to go to Miami for a networking event because your girl is a networker. But subscribe if you want to know all the ins and outs of the journey of an attorney and what it took to get here as I become more and more successful. So today's video is going to be about the best advice about how to go about bar prep as a rising 3L or a 3L in law school. And what I want to say is you don't have to wait for Barbary or Themis or a Kaplan program to start bar prep. If anything, you know the classes you didn't take. You know where your holes are. You can start before that. And I actually recommend starting before for people who want to guarantee that they're going to pass, for people who know that they struggle in certain subjects or don't remember as they were a 3L. When I was a 3L, I remember torts and contracts conceptually, but you could not ask me a specific rule and I would remember. 3L years when you got to bring everything to the forefront, because once your official program starts, they kind of assume that you already know your rules versus learning it again. So you know you, so take this advice with a grain of salt. This is just something I would do if I was a rising 3L and I wanted to make sure that bar prep when it really started and I graduated was more practice than learning. Step 1, the summer, I would take full advantage of that transition going from 2L to 3L year, and I would be remembering MBE or Florida subjects that I knew I didn't take or I struggled with, but MBE is the foundation for the exam. I would get a JD advising outline and I would look at it constantly and just make sure I knew those subjects. A JD advising outline is literally a colorful one-pager, very simple to the point, and I would say about 70 to 80% of rules come from that. Most rules will come from actually doing practice and learning the additional rules, but the JD advising outlines are perfect. So whether you're taking MBE as a course or you're taking it in the fall or spring, I would get a JD advising outline and start bringing those rules back to my mind. Something else I would do is watch Adaptibar videos. Professor Grossman teaches you the approach of how to go about MBE questions. Your official bar prep program is just going to give you rules, but Professor Grossman literally teaches you how to answer questions and how to recognize what a question is kind of asking you. So it's more strategy. And a lot of bar coaches complain about the fact that people try to use Adaptibar or what's the issue or supplements during the official bar prep program. And it's kind of like you have to split. How are you going to choose your time? But if you do everything before, you are giving yourself an unofficial bar prep. So I would use Adaptibar videos for Grossman and a JD advising outline to get MBE down. Now for me, I tagged Grossman as a professor in law school, and I feel like he gave me everything in those videos in class. So I focused on Florida when it was time for me to do my bar prep before bar prep. But if you don't have Professor Grossman as a professor, or even if you do, but you're taking him in your second semester and you just want to start getting accustomed to bar prep now, go ahead and watch Adaptibar videos. And if you feel like Grossman teaches you enough in person, just pick up a JD advising outline and make sure you're recalling those rules when you have him and before you even take him, just your 3L year or your 3L summer. Next, I would highly advise, if you know you didn't take a lot of Florida subjects, to do what's the issue and go over all the Florida multiple choice subjects as well as the essay subjects, because you want to start writing an outline for essays that you know you can retain and that you can understand. And the best way for you to understand Florida subjects, what's the issue before bar prep was so amazing because it gave me a taste and strategy about how to approach essays, Florida multiple choice, what was highly tested, and MBE for Adaptibar, which I didn't do Adaptibar, but his course gave me a lot. But I think what's the issue and MBE is the full scope of pre-bar prep because it's going over every MBE subject, and what's the issue has every Florida essay subject as well as Florida multiple choice subjects in teaching form with strategy involved. So that is something I would do off the rip starting bar prep before bar prep really starts. And you have to realize that the Barbary book, they have a lot of rules in there, but there's no official outline that you get from these programs. So you can literally write out an outline from what's the issue. You could take notes on Florida multiple choice subjects, and you can start to see what's heavily tested. That's what I did. A good outline for Florida subjects and Florida multiple choice as well is the Marsaf LLC outline from Etsy. It is expensive. It is like $100 $100 and something. So the best way to avoid that is to either start what's the issue and take your own notes or just pay for the notes. Convenience sometimes can help you. The best practice program I think for Florida subjects, multiple choice, is Bar Exam Masters. I would say that you don't really have to focus on the practice when you're just learning. I would focus on more like recalling information before bar prep, which your JD advising and your MBE Adaptibar videos will get you there, and your MARSUF or your own outlines that you make from what's the issue will just help give you the information, because bar prep should be more practice once you get there, and you'll be able to do that. But if you kind of want to just test yourself after you learn like what's the issues, every essay subject, and you write your outline, I would personally go on the bar exam website, pull up essays, and just start writing weekly and just making sure you can do every single subject. Most people struggle with Florida con law and con law, just so you know, for essay topics. So that's food for thought. I think the most slept on subject for Florida multiple choice is business entities. Florida Crim and Florida Civ is always tested, but business entities, a lot of people treat it like one subject when there's like 5 different subjects in business entities. I think that's a class everybody should take, as well as evidence. And literally, you gotta treat every subject like it's a different subject, from LLCs to corporations to general partnerships to limited partnerships. You have to literally learn everything like it's a separate topic, and don't mush it as just business entities. Learn every topic individually, and you'll need time to really understand that. Taking the course will help you with that. So for MBE, everybody kind of has their own things that they enjoyed. I was a team Adaptibar girl. The explanations helped me very much. People like UWorld, which you could buy even if you do Barbary. People purchase UWorld separately sometimes for questions because they give a lot of picture explanations. So if you're somebody who needs a lot of pictures, a lot of wordy explanations, UWorld is good for that. Barbary gives a lot of wordy explanations, a lot of in-depth rule explanations. So if you need in-depth explanations, Barbary's good for that. And I think Adaptibar is good at testing simple, point-blank black letter law, and you can always expand your explanations. So I loved Adaptibar. If you're a picture person, consider UWorld. I think Barbary gives the best information for a program, although one thing I do like about Themis is that Themis gives the Florida distinctions as they go through video form, and I didn't like that when I was choosing my program. But if you're somebody who knows you're not going to try to teach yourself as much with Florida distinctions, then maybe consider Themis. Barbary, you would have to learn Florida on your own. For Florida essays, it's never going to kind of give you the distinctions in the video, but it will teach you Florida law for Florida multiple choice. But for Florida essays, it doesn't really give you distinctions for those MPE topics. You kind of learn those just on your own through the book, which is if you do what's the issue first, you will avoid that, and you have an outline with all the Florida subjects in it for towards and contracts already. Now, some schools provide bar exam masters. I think that's the best thing for when you actually are in bar prep to test yourself with Florida multiple choice. But bar exam masters also gives Florida essay rule sheets. So if you want to just focus on memorizing essay sheets, even if your school gives it to you, it might be in your best interest to purchase that beforehand to learn essays on your own instead of outlining from what's the issue. You already have the rules from bar exam masters. The pro of using what's the issue for essays is that he teaches you conceptually how to argue and what's likely and what's heavily tested. Bar exam masters will give you the rules to not have to write, but I found what's the issue to be beneficial to the point where I didn't even need bar exam outlines. But if I was starting so close to test time and I didn't have time to just learn those rules conceptually while going through my program, I would have just looked at bar exam master and learned those rules. So yeah, I think that's everything I wish I would have knew for bar prep. I don't think it's ever too early to start, and the best thing you could do is when early start happens is to start early start. If you are a July test taker, a lot of people struggle with classes and try to do early start, which is why I recommend that you start slowly and maybe in your summer you start doing bar prep, because a lot of people run into the issue where they don't feel like they can study for the bar while in school. And so they start after graduation. And once you start after graduation, you are hit with 10 hours, and it's harder to balance doing 10 hours plus practice and doing what's the issue after, or looking at Adaptibar videos. A lot of people ask me, like, how do I get to watch Adaptibar videos and incorporate what's the issue into my schedule? But that's when I would just tell somebody to go on bar exam masters, retain the essay outlines from there, and for MBE to look at a JD advising outline and recall and learn through practice. So this is just me warning you about the traps that people get into in bar prep. I don't think it's ever too early to start. I think the best thing to do is learn the rules though and focus on practice later. But if you get to practice, the best things that worked for me was Adaptibar multiple choice, Florida bar exam masters if you're willing to pay for it, or the free way is just going on the bar exam website and practicing the essays as you get them. I think they were very beneficial, and looking at their Florida multiple choice. And even though you won't be able to target business entities on its own, wills on its own, you could just start getting an idea and target through actual bar prep when you might be willing to pay for bar exam masters, but focus on learning and active recall and knowing the rules, and you will be fine, I hope. So that's the advice I would give to somebody before bar prep. Legally Naiya. Legally Naiya. Good luck, 3Ls. Also, yeah, I want to say that me starting What's the Issue before getting to bar prep was probably something that saved me as somebody who didn't take a lot of Florida specific subjects in law school and somebody who had to really learn from scratch. Shout out to Dominique for planting the seed of like, well, girl, just start a supplement to learn. A lot of bar coaches are against supplements during bar prep. I can understand it's hard to balance hours, but the best thing if you really know you need that information is to start those supplements early so that you don't have to run into how to split your time. Ask anybody in bar prep, and some people are struggling. So yeah, shout out to Dominique for planting the seed for me to start bar prep a little bit earlier and not having to wait just for early start, but also supplements. And the reason why I like supplements before early start is because it teaches you strategy, while the program mainly just teaches you information and practice, but strategy will help you master this exam. So do that before you get to early start. See y'all later.